this properly without some serious thought and some serious introspection. You've really got to chew over this quite deeply. And there are a few things you need to do to work out where you are now. So the first thing is to assess the culture. And there are a number of indicators that I look at to determine whether or not the culture is healthy or unhealthy, and in varying degrees, of course, it's on a continuum. And the very first thing is that I look at the culture and determine whether or not it is a results-driven culture or an activity-driven culture. Do we do the work just because it's work we've always done? Or do we do the work because we're absolutely focused on getting the benefits, the outcomes, and the value that comes out of the back end from that work? So just be really careful about this process focus, because I see a lot of larger organizations falling into this. They think that if we develop better processes, then things will improve. That's only part right. If you develop a better process, all you've got is a better process. If you can't use that process to get a higher value outcome, then you may as well not do that work, and you may as well not invest the resources. The second cultural area I really like to look at is the level of accountability. Now, in a really good culture, you will have people who step up and aren't afraid to take accountability. They want the accountability. They want to be able to make decisions and determine their own destiny, and to basically drive a result through to its end, because they know that's where the satisfaction is. In many organizations, and I've led in many of them, you can have an all care, no responsibility culture. And that's where everyone looks at everyone else to make the achievements. Everyone looks to everyone else to solve the problems. And when there is an issue, everyone hides and hopes to not be seen. So you want an accountability culture which is single point strong. You don't want an all care, no responsibility culture. The other cultural elements I look at, is this a learning organization or a knowing organization? You've got the difference between knowing teams and learning teams. Knowing teams, knowledge is power. People protect their knowledge and they protect their power base, and they don't share it. They like to sit there being very, very wise, but not actually doing anything with that to help other people to reach their level of wisdom. So a knowing culture basically is very stagnant, whereas a learning culture is a culture where everyone wants to share and grow and learn from each other, and they contribute generously and fearlessly at any point in time. The next cultural indicator I look at is it an autonomous culture or a micromanaging culture? And you can tell this by looking at where the decisions in the organization flow to. Are people making decisions that are appropriate for their level at the point at which they make them? Or do those decisions have to flow up the line 2 or 3 layers to get to someone who has sufficient authority or sufficient power in the hierarchy to make a call? Now, there's a very big difference between micromanaging and inspecting progress, and we might talk about that a little bit later on. But certainly micromanagers are getting into the detail and making sure that you're in control of what's going on. Whereas inspecting progress, it doesn't mean you take your eye off the ball, but it means that you're asking different questions about how people are going with their work. And then the final cultural thing I look at is, where is the minimum acceptable standard? And at all levels of management that I worked in, I always used to love doing management by walking around. You can learn so much just by walking through a workspace and seeing what people are doing, seeing the energy that they bring, the sense of urgency that they have, the amount of interaction. You can just gauge so much just by that. Now, obviously, in these post-pandemic times, it's much harder. And this is one of the things that I think suffers by not having people co-located. Now, it's great that we have a good mix of, work from home, work at any location, and work in the office. But by the same token, when you do get the opportunity to get people together, use that wisely. Take advantage of it. All right, now,